Hello fellow CNCNutz and welcome. In this episode I had planned to be continuing on with part 2 of machining a model of New Zealand in 3D as my piece of wall art. Only problem is I ordered some tapered bullnose cutters from China, and it was meant to be 2mm and I ended up with this here, a 4mm bullnose cutter. Appears that one of us doesn't speak English, and it also appears that it's me. I ordered a 2mm radius bullnose cutter, so of course it's 4mm at the tip. You live and learn. I've now ordered some 1mm radius cutters, which will give me the 2mm that I want, and while I'm waiting I've come up with another project. I was looking through the Masso forum and I came across a gentleman by the name of Ross who had done a plasma cut of a miner using a sluice box. You can sort of see it on the screen up there behind me. He sent me the image, and from that I've created some files and I'm going to have a go at cutting it. He said to send him a picture when it's finished, so let's get it cut, painted and see what we end up with. Don't know whether this is going to work or not, but I think it will. So if you're anything like me, you'll be thinking, what the hell was that? That wasn't exactly what I had expected to happen, although I should have known better. You'll notice partway through the cut I got rid of the dust shoe because it was pulling out these pieces here, and then they were getting caught in the shoe, twisted around and broken off. And some of these very fine pieces here I don't think should be coming off. So by removing the dust shoe, hopefully I've got rid of that as best I can. But there's a lot of fine pieces here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through with my vacuum cleaner now, clean up as much of this dust as possible and pick up any of these little pieces like this that shouldn't be there, and maybe pull out any pieces that are not attached. I just have to be very careful about what I remove. So bits like this here, even though there's bits in the center of it that have been removed, bits like this shouldn't be there as well. We'll see what we got when I've done that. And there it is, the miner with sluice box. It's certainly the effect I was looking for, but it's not quite as good as I hoped it would be. Now part of the issue is the MDF I used. This is just an old piece of MDF that's been sitting out in this workshop for quite a few years now, and I used this for the project. Problem is, when I used the down cutting spiral bit to cut this out, it pushed all the back of the MDF out and it's gone fluffy like this here. It made it very hard to try and sand to get rid of it, especially on these thin bits here, and I've still got a bit of fluffiness showing there. I think if I was to do it again, and I probably will, instead of using the down cutting bit I'd use an up cutting bit which would pull the fluff to the surface here, and I would make my first cut half the depth of the MDF. I would then sand it flat, because at that stage there are no thin bits that are unsupported. That would clean them all up, and then I'd let it cut all the way through, and that should pull all these fluffy bits towards the front and basically get rid of them. That's my theory anyway. So I think a different cutting strategy is needed. Now the other thing is, of course, I cheated when I made this here. I just simply took the original image, converted it to a vector, and just said, well, whatever ends up falling out is fine by me, and I'll just keep what remains. Because it was actually quite complex to go through and try and figure out what was going to be taken away and what was going to be left. But the problem there is when it came to small pieces like this here, it would put stress on them, and I think a few of them broke off in the cutting process because it moved, it wasn't supported anymore. Whereas if I'd gone through, spent a bit more time going through the image, working it all out so that the breakaway bits were a bit more supported as they were cut, I think I would have ended up with a better product. Lastly, in here, I know that looking at Ross's one, his one looks a lot better. He's got a much better definition in the water coming from the sluice box, and that's all to do with the fact that he actually spent a lot of time going through this. I think he said it took 2 days to get through and do this image, whereas I spent about half an hour to an hour on it. I wasn't too worried. I just wanted to see what it would come out like and what the potential problems were. But all in all, it's come up pretty good. Once it was cut and sanded, then I just simply got out a can of spray paint, sprayed it, and hung it on the wall. So I think I'm going to give this another go and see if I can make some improvements on it. If you can find the right image, a nice silhouette like this here, you can end up with a really nice piece of wall art. Okay, well, that's about all for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe it's given you some ideas on what you can do for wall art in your home. All that remains me to do is to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.